iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1. Tons of football today. Joy Taylor is joining me. Today's show, I have so much energy for it, not because I have a big glass of Red Bull.
Oh. Well, you're not buying coffee from coffee shops anymore. We know that. So, but Red Bull is still...
I can go get Red Bull anywhere. Yesterday, I decided no more coffee shops. I'm tired of getting hosed. So I can officially feel this morning. We're kind of segueing into football.
Yeah.
And I want to start the show with this. Enjoy. I'm going to say something, and people are going to think I'm nuts. And I'm going to say, take a deep breath and just listen. This isn't politics. You're not voting on this issue where people are intractable. This is sports where we change our mind all the time. Player gets hurt, coach gets fired. This morning, Ezekiel Elliott, best running back in the NFL, has privately said he's planning a training camp holdout. He's got 2 years left on his contract. 2 years left. And he's putting you through this nonsense. Forget the fact that every offseason there's a new judicial issue. Trade him. I would trade Zeke. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. This is not the NBA, where after the 8th draft pick, you're out of players. This year in the NBA, by the 4th pick, it's a project. It's a 18-year-old project. This is the NFL. Half the league is undrafted. There's football talent everywhere. Belichick every other year drafts an SEC running back nobody knows. He ends up being great. Trade Zeke. I'm not letting this guy 2 years out. We're talking about this. Number one, there's a growing number of analytics in the NFL and GMs that believe you do not give a running back after 3 or 4 years in this league a big contract. High school carries, college carries, NFL carries. Once you get into that 2,000 carry area, Zeke's numbers, touchdowns per game, dropping dramatically. Yards rushing per game, coming down. Let him go. Trade him. You can get a haul for him. His value will never be higher today. He is seen as the #1 running back in the NFL. This is his greatest value. From this point forward, more dings, more judicial issues, not great judgment. His value goes down. Pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered. You could get a haul for him. By the way, here's 3 teams that moved off running backs. You told me they couldn't do it. Pittsburgh Steelers, Minnesota Vikings, Adrian Peterson. Can't get rid of him. Can't. Best running back for 10 years. They've never missed the playoffs since he left. Minnesota's a great franchise. They never didn't miss. By the way, the only playoff game they won with Adrian Peterson, Brett Favre was the quarterback. You told me they couldn't trade Adrian Peterson. Vikings been fine without him. DeMarco Murray, Cowboys. Oh, my God, leads the NFL in 2 Division III titles without DeMarco Murray. Le'Veon Bell. Well, you weren't winning Super Bowls with him, and you were number 4 in the NFL in offense without him. And you paid James Conner nothing. This is not a running back league. It's a quarterback league. It's increasingly a wide receiver league because of rule changes. It's a left tackle league. It's an edge rusher league. It's a have mobile linebackers. It's have a lockdown corner. By the way, the Cowboys have all of those. This organization is not bereft of talent. In fact, over the weekend, I read a website, an analytic website, that said Dallas had more good young players than anybody in the NFL. I think Philadelphia was second. And they're all mature. Amari Cooper, great, talented, young, mature. Dak, really good, talented, mature. Van Der Esch, Jalen Smith, the linebacker. Byron Jones, the corner. DeMarcus Lawrence. You got to pay all these guys, and they're all mature. The one young guy they have that's not is Zeke. I'm not tying, some people you date, some people you marry. I'm not tying myself long-term to Zeke. 2 years out, he's complaining about a contract. Pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered, move off him. By the way, here's a little secret. If you move off him, and then Dak, you can make a trade right now, and Dak has to play without him, oh, maybe Dak can't demand $35 million a year if his numbers come down a little. Because Dak is your future, right? Got to have a quarterback. Much easier to find a running back than a quarterback. Look around the NFL last 5 years. How many great second round, third round, fourth round, fifth round running backs have come into this league and not only been good soon. The Rams signed Todd Gurley to a huge deal. They regret it today. Todd Gurley got hurt. They found C.J. Anderson, still made it to the Super Bowl with C.J. Anderson. You told me DeMarco Murray couldn't be traded. Le'Veon Bell couldn't be moved. You told me Adrian Peterson was a must-have. By the way, who are the two franchises in the NFL favored to get the Super Bowl? Patriots and Eagles. Both are running back by committee. Trade him. I'm not going to be held hostage by this nonsense. His rushing yards per game coming down. His touchdowns per game dramatically coming down. He had 592 carries in college. He had 870 carries in the NFL. He's at 1,500 running back carries, not counting high school. There's a rule in the NFL. What would Belichick do? Trade him for a haul. By the way, Belichick would trade him, and Jimmy Johnson did trade Herschel Walker. And let's go back to the Jimmy Johnson trade. A, that was a culture that nobody made trades. Nobody made trades. Secondly, Herschel Walker had gone for 1,500 rushing yards and 500 passing yards, and Jimmy traded him. By the way, it was the only good Cowboy player. So it's not like Jimmy had a bunch of guys. It was it. And Jimmy's like, I'll trade my only good player. Cowboys now have like 7 great young players and one of the top 3 offensive lines. It was also back then a running back league way more than now, where it's a wide receiver, quarterback, offensive line league. Stop living in fear. I'm not dealing with this nonsense. Every offseason, it's another judicial issue. 2 years out, you're threatening to hold out of camp. I'm done. Bad judgment. I'm out. I'm done. I'm not going to be held hostage by it. Everybody in this league tells me, you got to sign this, you got to... No. In the NBA, you got to get Kawhi Leonard. Okay, yes. In the NBA, you got to get Anthony Davis if you're the Lakers. There are a lot... In the NBA, there's about 6 you got to haves. Golden State, you got to keep Steph and Clay. There's some got to haves. Outside of a handful of quarterbacks in the NFL, there's not a lot of got to haves. J.J. Watt was the best defensive player in this league for about 5 years. His production never equaled wins. OBJ, next to Randy Moss, maybe the most talented receiver in NFL history. His 6 biggest games are 1-5. Here's what you got to have in the NFL. You got to have the confidence in your coaching staff and the confidence in your system that you don't got to have anybody except a very good quarterback. Which, by the way, that's just rules. That's just the way the rules are. The rules are now, if you have a good quarterback, he completes 67%, you win a bunch of games. If you have a bad one, you don't make the playoffs. New England, Philadelphia, never held hostage by an individual running back. But they pay Carson Wentz and Tom Brady a bunch of money. Okay, this is nonsense. Again, the NBA's got some gotta-haves. NFL, not many. And Zeke is not a gotta-have. And again, I'll say this. Jimmy Johnson did this in Dallas when it was more of a running back league, when he didn't have anybody else, and it got a lot of pushback, and you all said he was crazy. And it is the singular reason the Cowboys dynasty was created. I could give you a team to call. Call the Houston Texans. Call the Houston Texans. Say, you give us Lamar Miller and a couple of first-round picks, you have Zeke. Zeke's carries, yards per carry will go down at least a yard per game. Watch. Houston Texans need a running back. Cowboys, bring in Lamar Miller. You know, he's a guy that averages 3 yards a carry. Behind the Cowboy O-line, he'll be 3.8 to 4.1. Zeke averages 4.5 a carry. Watch his go down to 3.5. There's no running back in this league that can do it without help. You can't run in a box with no players. The Cowboy offensive line is one of the reasons Zeke is getting these numbers. Now, Zeke is great, and I'm not denying it. But his trade value will never be higher than this morning. You really think sign him to a 4-year deal? There'll be no more judicial issues, no nonsense, no bad judgment. You think in 4 years he'll be better than today? I mean, if you want to sign him, you better front load the contract, because these running backs hit a cliff after about that 6th year of carrying the ball, especially after they were big carry guys in college for a couple of years. Pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered. Go ahead, sign him. But you got a bunch of great young players. They're all mature. You need all of them. You got one great corner. He's young and talented and mature. You better sign him. You have a pass rusher, DeMarco Lawrence. You signed him. You got 2 great linebackers. I'd sign both. You watch the NFL right now, you need speed at linebacker. You have the best linebacker. I want to sign both. I got to re-sign 1 or 2 of those offensive linemen. I want to keep Amari Cooper. I'm not giving up Dak. Well, you going to feed everybody? And the little secret on this, if you let Zeke go, Dak plays without Zeke, Dak's numbers compress, and I may not have to pay him $35 million. I may get down to $27 million. It sounds crazy. It sounds nuts. I'm going to take a deep breath and just stew in my brilliance for 4 seconds. All right, that's where I think this morning. Coming up now, we have a great show today. We got a lot of interesting football stuff. Did Aaron Rodgers get hosed again by the critics of the NFL game Madden? I don't think so, but we'll have thoughts on that. And the con job, just because an organization tells you something, it's your job and my job. It's actually my job. It's not your responsibility. It's mine to see when they're BSing you. And Oklahoma City with Westbrook was BSing you, and it's coming out now. That's coming up next. In Los Angeles, it's The Herd.